Fundamentally, we are in the business of persuading people.
Is bigger always better?
I think it's more about being bold.
They could not have made that film 18 months ago, but now they can.
You're telling me that you didn't get a real tiger and walk it through a train? Hello, and welcome to the Unstoppable podcast series. I'm Kate, and today I'm joined by Geraldine and Martin from DRPG Film. Thanks so much for coming and having a chat with us today, guys.
Thank you.
So let's just jump straight in. Today we're going to be discussing film and why your video content may not be connecting with audiences. So when people think about powerful film, they often think bigger production, bigger budgets, and bigger audiences. But is bigger always better?
There is no real connection, I think, between the budget you're spending and how well a film connects with your audiences. Fundamentally, a film is about connecting people, connecting with people, and then when you're able to connect with them, you're able to kind of make an impact. Budget can help to amplify that in lots of interesting ways, but you certainly don't need a big budget to create a big impact.
We try to be transparent and have transparent conversation with our clients about, the budget they have. And sometimes they come to us with, well, actually, we don't have much budget. And there's maybe that apprehension that no budget means we'll have a really low quality film with low quality, maybe output and not much reach. But we've proven that it's not necessarily the case. We've made some great, fantastic content that had absolutely great results because that specific content was exactly nailing the message we wanted to share to our audience.
Yeah.
So we've proven time and times again that, this is possible. Really great films, like, for example, Blair Witch Project. I think it's made about 248 million in the box office and the budget was $60,000 or something like that. The storytelling was amazing. The way they filmed it was really innovative and they really nailed it. And it's back to your budget. Not that it doesn't matter at all, but I think it's more about being bold and embracing, the idea that's right for your audience.
I think you're absolutely right. We've got an example with a telecoms client that we work with. They didn't have a huge budget for a particular project. Having gone through all the processes that we talked about, we ended up doing a campaign internally for people to send in their home videos. Send in your home videos of moments that have mattered in your life, moments with family and all the rest of it. And this became a really, really emotive film that was supposed to be internal. The CEO then put it on her LinkedIn. It ended up absolutely blowing up.
Wow.
We made all sorts of different versions of it. And one thing I think is really telling, and there's great stats of that film around, how many people watched it and all the rest of it. But the engagement stat that I love most is it had 795 reactions, which is 7 times the number that this particular business normally has on any sort of content that it releases on social. Home videos. Yeah,
and I guess that really just plays back into the value of somebody like yourself being a creative director within that film role of, talking to clients about the thought process at briefing, that early stage conversation, not just jumping in with this is what I want the finished project to be.
Well, for us, it's all about understanding the audience first. What is it that you want to say to the audience? What is the behavioral change you're looking for? And I think it is. Yes, it's good to know about maybe your budget or your deadline. But first, it's to go back to why am I making this film? What business issue do I want to solve? And then from there, you can go into the creative solutions and the production.
So really thinking about the objectives at the outset and having those early conversations to make sure that the content then lands.
Exactly that.
I mean, fundamentally, we are in the business of persuading people to think, feel and do things.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to know what you want them to do, what you want the outcome to be, and then you work backwards from that.
Okay, that's really interesting. So this sort of framework of think, feel, do, talk to me a little bit more about that, because within the business, we use that phraseology a lot from a creative standpoint. But from a film perspective, what does that mean?
So look, it's not rocket science. It feels like a really simple process, but it's kind of a bit like being a chef, right? All of the ingredients are really simple, but unless you put the ingredients in the right way, in the right order, in the right amounts, you don't get a good result. You do it the right way, you get a fantastic result. So when you know what your objectives are, you then need to influence people in order to meet those objectives. So what do you need them to think? What do you need them to feel? What do you need them to do in order to solve the business problem? It's as simple as that, but it's also as complex as that, because beneath that there's all the insight, there's all the understanding of human nature that you need to know. Because if you understand a little bit about what it is to be a human being, then you can understand what levers you have to pull as a filmmaker, as a marketeer, as a communicator, in order to inspire people so that you get the reaction that you need.
Do you think that is specifically in relation to film, that actually the feel, that emotional storytelling weighs a bit heavier than against other communication outputs?
Oh, well, I think that's absolutely right. I think the science backs that up as well. So there's a lot of science around the idea that when you're watching a film, when you're experiencing a film, the bits in your brain that are to do with your hearing, your sight, your sound, your feel, all these are kind of popping off as you're kind of watching the film. So really you're experiencing it along with the people in it. You're feeling the empathy, you're feeling the humor. So whilst clearly there's a difference between me living that experience and me watching a film about that experience, my brain doesn't necessarily understand the difference. And that's something really unique to filmmaking.
So let's just get real for a second. The fact is that with the rise of user-generated content, everybody's got a phone in their pocket, everybody's able to create good-looking content, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's great quality content. But it does mean that film is a lot more accessible now for clients, and that with AI content and those outputs being across so many different types of channels, like what does that mean for film now? Like it must be quite an exciting opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, it is, because just looking at the real numbers, we know by facts that I think all the video content, they shared 1,200% times more than any text content, for example, or image content all combined. So we know like video content has a massive part to play in marketing in general.
And that's just me alone, because I'm just scrolling for hours and hours
exactly
and hours.
That. But then you're competing with your WhatsApp messages, you're competing with when you're scrolling down your social media feed with so many things. So I think it's going back to the strategy though, about who do you want to talk to? Because if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. So it's going back to identifying your audience and then narrowing down the content that you want to create.
So do you think brands have lots of multi-channel expectations now when they come to us with briefs? Like they want to be everything everywhere all at once, and that actually...
It's not one size fits all, right? So there's what you're talking about there is very much in a marketing space.
Yeah.
But if you look at, for instance, an internal comms audience, and that obviously is a huge part of the business that we're in, a lot of those same pressures that you're talking about don't apply. But a different pressure applies, because in the outside world, people are now so used to seeing fantastic content wherever they go. I've got, Netflix, and I've got Disney, and I'm looking at YouTube, and so there's fantastic. So there's an expectation now, I think, and rightly, and I think it's great, but an expectation now that internal comms content is going to be really, really high quality, which is obviously fantastic for us as well.
Yeah, that's, I think, given us a lot to think about there. And I want you to just talk to me about emotional storytelling, and what does that mean for film?
Yeah, I think it's actually one of the most important things that we can talk about as filmmakers. This idea of saying something about the human condition in a way that kind of resonates with people and kind of inspires them to action. And that's true for everything kind of we do here as well. If you can touch on an essential human truth during your filmmaking, you have the opportunity to really inspire and move people and galvanize people and really achieve something important. And that's what we're trying to do with every piece of work that we create.
Yes, and emotional storytelling doesn't have to be like a sentiment of sadness. It could be humor. It could be any feeling. So it's a bit like when you've got a conversation with someone, and when you walk out of that conversation, you'll remember how it made you feel rather than what exactly you've discussed. It would have been, it made me feel happy, made me feel seen. So I think it's back to making the audience care about something rather than doing a list of facts they need to remember that they will never ever remember.
Yeah. So, DRPG has been at its heart a filmmaking company, for 45 years plus now. But what does the future look like? Let's face it, AI content, that kind of footage creation. Is AI coming for your jobs? Is film dead?
It's a really important question, right? Think about it like a musician playing an instrument, right? The instrument is all the tools that we have at our disposal, the amazing cameras and the editing equipment and the motion graphics equipment and the AI tools that we now have. But you still have a human musician playing that instrument, being amplified by all these incredible tools in order to make something that moves and changes us.
So it's really about the craft behind it, isn't it? It's really about using AI to help develop the craft rather than it being the finished product.
Very much.
Yeah, no, exactly like that. I always think about, like a ballet dancer as well. That's one of the, I think, most difficult art form, I'd say. But when you look at it, it looks flawless, it looks easy. And I think it's the same with a film. If the audience hasn't noticed that you've used AI or you've used a certain editing software, it is the final products that matter. And I think for us as filmmakers, we've got all that crafts and knowledge, behind us. We're embracing AI technology to help things move forward a bit faster sometimes, to test some things out. But at the end of the day, that's our ability to tell a story that matter and what then the audience feel when they watch the film.
It's all got to be rooted in emotional storytelling at the end of the day, yeah.
We made a film quite recently, Kate, that's got a tiger walking through a train, right? And 18 months ago, we would have made that tiger, created that. Well, we thought...
Hang on, you're telling me that you didn't get a real tiger and walk it through a train?
I have to be honest, I think we costed up for getting a real tiger, but it didn't quite work. So if we tried to do it 18 months ago, it would have been traditional motion graphics techniques, absolutely brilliant, but that comes in at X price point. We've done it this time using AI. It looks absolutely amazing. And the thing is, it's actually made that creative affordable for that client. They could not have made that film 18 months ago, but now they can. And that's about having much higher ambition as filmmakers, much higher ambition as brands and businesses, as clients, but being able to achieve that ambition without having to spend more budget, which is a place where you really want to be.
That is really great thinking, I think, for clients about it opening up opportunities. Just want to touch on multi-channel outputs and, thinking about when a client's investing in a film, how we can help them consider all the different ways in which that film potentially might be used or consumed.
When clients come to us, we don't necessarily need to hear we need one film and that's the end product. What we need is having that conversation about back to who is your audience and then where do they sit, where do they spend their time? Is it on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn? How do they consume content? And then from there, we work backwards and then we can put a list of outputs together. But yeah, so that's the way we'd work. Yeah.
Earlier in my career, people would come to you and they just want one film.
Yeah.
Then there was a period where you made the film and you would do various cut downs of that film for different channels. Now the place where we're in is thinking about every possible channel where this content could be useful and then designing it in from day one. So do we need to shoot things a bit differently for that channel? Do we need to think about a few extra shots that aren't in the main kind of hero film? So you're designing all these different outputs before you get onto set.
So many good takeaways there, I think. And if you were going to leave us with one thought to just help anyone watching feel unstoppable in creating a fantastic piece of film content, what would that be?
I think probably come with an open mind and come and talk to us with an open mind, with a clear maybe goal in terms of what is it that I want to solve And then we're here to really have a chat and develop that think, feel, do together, develop your objectives a bit further. And it's not, you don't have to come with a perfect brief, but I think it's being open to being maybe a bit challenged, by us, but because we want the best for you, for the client.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say what an interesting conversation to have is a conversation around value, right? So people often talk about budget, right? And in fact, this whole kind of podcast has been framed around, do you need a big budget to have a big impact? Which you absolutely don't, right? And we prove that all the time. But I would love us to change the conversation so it's about value. When I talk about outcomes, not outputs, what is the outcome that you want to achieve? What my word, you want to change the mindsets of 30 million people?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hang on. Maybe we need to think about what the value of that is to your business.
Yeah.
And maybe let's talk about what investment you can make in order for us to help you
actually achieve it.
Achieve that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that is a brilliant way to end this. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thanks.
Thanks to Martin and Geraldine for their time today, and thanks to you for watching. If you'd like to check out more Unstoppable podcast content, have a look at our DRPG channels.